Hey, Katrina here from ScrappyHorses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am so happy you're here. Today I am designing a Sympathy card in Cricut Design Space. Sympathy cards are never fun to design, that's for sure. I do have a couple of tricks that I use. One is I really like to use earthy colors, greens, blues, browns, with a pop of another color. And I also like to include nature elements, trees, flowers, vines, animals. So today's Sympathy card is for a couple who lost their kitties recently. So of course I wanted to use a cat, and then I also incorporated some nature with this wonderful focal image. My focal image is from Scissor Creative. Now, I've not opened my page yet for Cricut because I wanted to show you that when you bring up your project, you have the images, fonts, and Cricut access features used in this project. So if you forget where something is from, for example, let's say I forgot that this was from Scissor Creative. On this page that I've opened, I can left click on this kitty and there it is. All right, Scissor Creative, right? I can go back. My paw print, Apple Grove Designs, and then I used a square. And I have some uploaded images, okay? Actually, what I uploaded was my text. All right, so let's go in and let's design this card. Whenever I design a card, I like to start with my card base. My card base, I just basically come over and pick up a shape. I'm going to bring in a square. I just left click on the square and it comes in. I'm going to left click this little arrow, and that makes that go away. I'm going to change this to brown, right? And I'm also going to change the size of this. So I'm going to unlock this key. I'm going to type in 4 1/4 for my width, return at my keyboard, and for my height, 5.5. return at my keyboard. And this just represents the card base. I will not cut my card base here in Cricut. I will cut that at the craft table. I will cut 5.5 by 8.5 and just fold it in half. Now, working with this piece, I'm going to go ahead and do an inset to create my next layer, which is this piece, which will be a print thing cut. So while this is selected, I'm coming up to offset. I will left click. Instead of offset, I'm going to do an inset. I'm going to inset about 0.25, I think. There we go. I want sharp corners, so I'm going to click that and hit apply. While that's selected, I'm going to come up to the black square again to change the color. Left click and choose this off-white. Now, off-white may not come up for you because you're just starting the project, right? You don't already have it up. So what you do to get an off-white is I click this peachy orange, go to advanced, and slide this down. And there we go, there's an off-white. Now I have this piece. Now, I know that this green piece is nothing more than a place marker. This pink piece is nothing more than a place marker. The green is a place marker for my Bo Bunny paper that I'm going to cut over at the craft table. The pink is a place marker for the ribbon I am going to use. All right, so let's just do this. Let's take this piece because we already have the correct width, and let's do a Command Copy, Command V. Now I'm going to right click this one, and I could have done this here also. I'm just showing you a new way to do it. come up here and hit duplicate. This one, I know I want 4 inches. So I'm going to come up here, unlock it, swipe over the 5. I'm going to type a 4 at my keyboard, enter. I'm going to change this to green. It's still selected. Again, if you want that shade of green, you can click this shade and just come down and change it to wherever you like it. Now this represents, again, the Bo Bunny paper, and it's going to sit right there. This piece represents the ribbon. I can just kind of bring that up and just make it any width I want. I'll go ahead and change it to that pink. Now we can design around this. Next, let's work on the sentiment. So let's pull this piece out and let's pull in some text. Let's come over to the left-hand panel, click text. I'm going to type in thinking of you. Let's use a Cricut font this time. I used a system font last time. I'm going to come up here to where it says Cricut Sans font. I'm going to click that. And let's choose this one. Gelato Fresco. So I'm going to come in, and the first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and hit this toggle and make that go away. First thing I want to do so I don't forget is change this to the very darkest black we have, because when you come in and you flatten it onto your piece of paper here and print it, it's going to lighten up quite a bit. So personally, I like to get it nice and dark. I'm going to bring it right down here. Now, see these little paw prints? Aren't they so cute? I'm going to go grab those. Let's say you don't know where the paw print is from. We know it's from Apple Grove Designs. But what you do is you come over to Images, left click, type in paw print. First one up. I'm going to bring it way down. Again, I'm going to get rid of this. Bring this over. I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to make it the color of our paper, but then I'm going to go to Advanced, and I'm going to make it a little darker here. Okay? You can play with it and get it anywhere you like it. You just don't want it so dark that it interferes with your font. All right? So let's take that down a little bit. Again, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to duplicate, and we're going to set this one aside. Let's bring this one in. Now, obviously, I don't want the paw print to cover up the writing, so let's bring the writing back to the front. Let's move this off a little bit. Now I'm going to take all of this. So you'll see over here, the verbiage, the paw print, and the offset, which is this piece, they're all chosen together. We're going to come over here to the right, down at the bottom, flatten. See how now the paw print barely shows back there. I'm going to move this to the back for a moment. I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to bump it all to the left. That gets it all nice and straight. I'm going to move this to the back. And there we go. All right, now let's go ahead and let's create our focal image. Here comes the fun, right? So again, we go to Images, Cat, Silhouette, Circle, Return. And here it is. We're going to left click. We're going to make this go away. I'm going to bring this down. Let's turn it brown. And again, I'm going to copy this just because I want to show you two different ideas. All right, so I'm going to duplicate that and set that aside. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do what I actually used for the card. So I'm going to, while this is selected, come up to offset, left click. We're going to offset it at about 0.069. And I'm going to hit apply. Now you can see that that's not what I actually did here. Let's first change it to the white. Now I'm going to come over to contour. I'm going to hide all contours. I want to keep this contour, but that's all I want to keep. There we go. And that's what I have right up here. While I'm here, just to show you something different, I'm going to copy that. So at my keyboard, I'm going to do a Command Copy, Command V, and there that is. I decided I liked this open and not just a circle behind it because I had that beautiful printed paper behind and I wanted to show that off a little more, have more of that earthy green coming through. So that's why I did that. But let me show you something a little different. Oh, while I'm here, let's size this down though. Let's say that you do have just plain green back here. Here's another idea for you. Go ahead and take your back here with the contour. Get rid of all the contour, hide it all. Now come up to your basic cut, and instead of basic cut, let's come down and make it a printing cut. Come back up, hit your vanilla, hit the color, hit pattern this time, and choose a pretty pattern that you might enjoy using. Oh, no, let's use this. Let's try this. There, that's pretty. You can edit the pattern here by hitting edit. Now we can bring this over and put it on top. Let's move it back to the front. Select them both and center. Let's group it. And now you can see how that would be very pretty if this were just a plain color on your back. So now you have something different. But since I have a pattern paper behind it, that's why I chose to go with this idea instead. Let's move on now to the inside of our card. Again, we know that the green represents the Bo Bunny paper, right? So we're not going to worry about that piece, except for we know that that's how big the piece of paper is and we want to use it as a design marker. So let's bring in a square. Let's size that to, I usually do 3.75 by about 5. That'll fit nicely just right inside of there. Now let's change it to our green. Come over to the black square, left click green. Let's come up to offset. This time we're doing an inset. Let's go a little more. Let's go about right there. 0.319, sharp corner, apply. And let's make that brown. Now let's do an inset on that. Okay, about 0.097, apply. And let's make that one this cream color that we like. Let's move this green out of the way. Let's just take this right now so we keep it together. And let's flatten it. Now, the littlest feet make the biggest footprints in our hearts. Let's go to text and let's type that in. Obviously, that's way too big. So we're going to click outside of here. We're going to just make that smaller. We're going to bring it in so that our width works. I'm not worried about the height right now because I don't like how far apart this print is. So what I'm going to do is I am going to change the lines on this. If you come up here, you'll see it says letter space, line space. I want to go to line space. There's that little itty bitty arrow pointing down. I'm going to click that. And you have to keep clicking. You can't just hold down. You have to click, 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 click with your finger. And I like that. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to come over and get our print. Let's move that to the front. Let's make it a little bit smaller here. Let's bring it in. And let's duplicate them again. So I left click, duplicate, bring it down here. I'm going to move our print to the front. So I'm going to right click, left click, bring to front. Now I'm going to take all of this now, all of it. I have my verbiage, my paw print, my other paw print, and my rectangles. I'm going to come down and flatten. And now that's done. And that leaves you room then to write a message sign right down here. All right, I gave you a couple of different options for the look on this card. We talked about text, and we talked about putting these little shadow silhouettes in, as well as working through offsets and insets. Before we go though, I want to tell you one thing. When I go to cut this, I am going to cut my brown focal image first off with the paper wrong side up, right side down facing the mat. Then I'm going to cut a mirror image. Let's see how we do that. So we hit make. I'm going to change my mat to a 12 by 12. Then I turn on my mirror. See right here where it says mirror? See how it turned them all around? Then when I went to cut this particular piece, I went with Cardstock for intricate cuts. Click that. Then I ran it through twice. So what I did is I loaded it and cut it. When it was finished cutting, you have the option to click the blinking light. I did not click the blinking light. Instead, I clicked the C and cut it again. And that gave me a really nice cut on this particular image. All right, let's head on over to the craft table and let's put this together. But before we go, always know that if you have any questions or comments about what I do in Cricut Design Space, I'm more than happy to help. Just drop me a message in the box below and I will gladly answer your questions or try to help you. Also, if you have any ideas for a video or there's a question you've had about Cricut, drop that below. I'm always looking for ideas and I have a couple of weeks before I return to school, so I'd love to get one more video done before I go. So if there's something you'd like to see covered, let me know. All right, let's head on over to the craft table. Here we are at the craft table, and as usual, I've sort of put together a group of things that I want to use. There are the pieces that we print and cut. I've assembled some different ribbons. I considered green, I considered pink, and I considered brown. Guess what? I didn't use any of those. Here's the round circle that I first thought about using and then changed my mind. The brown cardstock that I folded for my card blank. Here's that beautiful Bow Bunny paper that I'm going to cut some pieces out of. And the brown blank was from the Southwest Cardstock Cricut. No longer available. I'm sorry. I have a lot of really old paper in my stash that I like to pull out. Right, I'm going to start by getting out my scoreboard, and I'm going to score my card blank at 4 1/4. So that will pretty much fold it in half here. At least we hope it does. So I used a little scorer there and then folded that right on my score line. Now I'm just kind of getting an idea of how much paper I need. I cut one piece at 3.75 by 4.9 and the other piece I measured to fit the card front. I'm I'm going to go ahead and take this piece that we printed and cut in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere it with some ATG to my inside liner there. And that will be done then for the inside of the card. We'll move on to the front then, and remember we used a large piece of that white, and then I wanted to put my green right on top of that. Then the ribbon will go on through the middle there, and we'll do that a little later. All right, I cut 2 of these. Now you can see here's the one I cut upside down with the brown facing the mat. The one on the right that you can see right now is one that I cut right side up. Here's another trick. If you have trouble getting your pieces off carefully, just fold the mat off of it, and sometimes that is helpful, especially if you have an intricate piece. I'm taking my time with this. I did speed up the video. It took me a little while to get all those little pieces out. Remember, I cut the one on the left 2 times, 2 passes through my Cricut with the chocolate side down. I did have a few little white marks. I just covered them up with a Pip pen. There is what you see me doing. So here is what I chose to go with. So there it is, and that's how it's going to look. So now I'm going to cut some ribbon, and now it's time to attach that ribbon. Here's another trick for you. If you have a MISTI, if you take out the foam pieces, there is a grid under there. You can just use magnets, hold your card front down, lay your ribbon across, lining them up, and you'll get it straight every time. I like to make channels for my ribbon. That way my card will lay very flat. So what I've done here is I've cut this, I've made channels for the ribbon, and that way you don't get the lumps and bumps from the ribbon on your card. I want to pop my little focal image up a little bit, so I'm using serial cardstock on the back of that also. I'm coming in and I'm adhering my middle. So sorry about the overhead light. I didn't realize it was on while I was working. I usually don't use it. So there it is, glaring in there. I'm sorry. All right, so I'm going over with Fabri-Tac over the ATG, and that gives me some wiggle room, and you'll see me sort of wiggle it around a little bit, and that gives me a few seconds to get it very straight. Now you will notice as I go through and I'm adding my tape that I left the very bottom of this circle blank with no cereal box on it. That's because that is going over the ribbon, and again it's going to lay very, very flat on the top of my card. Again, I'm going to add Fabri-Tac over the cereal board. And again, it gives me wiggle room if I don't get it centered, which there's a good chance I might not. So what I do is I lay it on. I try to get it as close as I can, but I can move it just a tiny bit to the right or left if I need to. Time to add a few little gems. I'm going to use some of this multi-medium, I believe it's Holtz. And what I do is I put a little bit on my ring finger. Then I use these little tweezers. I pick up the gem and I dip it onto my finger that has the mixed media glue there. And then I just simply place it right down on the flower. And then they stick very nicely. These are old gems from close to my heart, and they don't have stick on them anymore. So that's why I needed to use a little bit of glue for those. So pink is my pop of color on my card. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I so appreciate your time. Hopefully you picked up some ideas for some sympathy cards. Any comments or questions, please leave them below. Have a wonderful week. I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.